Okay, so what we're going to do is just start, we're going to get our project set up. We're going to explain a little bit about what After Effects is, what it's made to do, at least in part, for our project, and how to organize a project in After Effects, because it does not have a forced organization convention like Maya does, which I guess is arguably Maya doesn't have, is not forced either. But anyway, so the first thing you want to do is, by default, you're in a project. Okay, when you open up After Effects, and you can know which project you're in by looking at the title bar of your window. And right now I'm in Untitled Project because I haven't done anything but open After Effects. Okay, so I'm going to begin by creating some project stuff, like things that would belong in my project, some organizational elements. And after I do that, we'll explain more about the user interface, because I'll bring in some video and things like that so you guys can see more purposefully what is going on in the different windows or palettes of the After Effects. So the first thing you want to do is start off on the right foot and be organized. Okay, so we're going to go File, New, Folder. I want you to notice the hotkey for that. I'm going to be using that. Control-Alt-Shift-N. And I'm going to call this one my sequence. So SEQ1. Okay, and then with that selected, I can press Control-Alt-Shift-N and add a folder to it, and I can rename that. I'm going to call this Shot 1. Okay, and in fact, I'm going to leave off the 1 for now, and you'll see why. That way I can duplicate it. I don't have to erase the 1 and then add it back in. Okay. Now, with Shot selected, I'm going to press Control-Alt-Shift-N and add another folder called Assets. Okay. Now, inside of Shot, I'm going to select Shot, and I'm going to go to Composition and add New Composition. And I'm going to name this composition Shot for now, and I'll add a number to it here shortly. Now, when I'm adding this composition, I want to make sure that I have my settings appropriate. And so for R, you want to pay close attention to this when you're doing the video or doing this tutorial. But we want to choose this preset, this HDV/HDTV 720 at 29.97 frames per second. That's what all that stands for. And the 720 is a 720p, so that's going to be 1280. I'm having a brain fart. 1280 by something or other resolution. And you want this square pixel set and so on and so forth. Now, the time code is here. Just leave that to default. And I've got duration. Okay, so what this is this first set of zeros starting from the right is the frames. Okay, so the first 00 is frames. And then the next two numbers, minus 15, those represent seconds. And then the next two represent minutes. And then the next number represents hours. Okay, so that's, you're going to need to be somewhat familiar with this to be able to adjust your timing in After Effects. Okay, so I'm going to set mine to 15 seconds because I know that's how long my overall shot is supposed to. It's supposed to be just under that, right? 8 to 12 seconds. And I can always cut this down and edit it after the fact. So I'll click OK. And now there's that composition. inside of this shot folder. So now I'm going to select this shot folder, and I'm going to press Control D to duplicate it. Okay. Now if I open that up, you'll see that it has an assets folder in it and a shot composition. Okay, and I could go back and rename this by right-clicking on the original composition. I can right-click on it and say rename, and I'm going to call it shot 1. Then I can rename this one to shot 1, the folder shot 1. And maybe I'll even add a space in there just like it did for my shot 2 folder. Okay, so now if I select shot 2, can press Control D, and I've got another shot. So what I'm doing is I'm separating every time there's a camera move in my sequence, it's a new shot. And I'm going to treat each of those as its own little video. And we'll get to this, and it'll be more clear eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and make 12 of these because I can't remember how many I have, and 12 ought to be enough though for a, if I have a camera move once every second, then I still have enough. So Control D until I've got 12 of these. Okay. Then I need to go through and rename these. This is the boring part. Shot 2. Three, 4, 5. Yes, and maybe I'll spare you guys from having to watch me rename all of these. 6, or maybe not. 7, 8, 9, rename shot 11, and we're almost done. Rename shot 12, and then you guys should know that this is just my own personal preference. Okay, so I'm not saying this is the law, but I do recommend you be organized because you can end up with a lot of different files really quick. Okay, so in sequence 1, I'm going to create another composition. Actually, I'll just copy my shot 1. I'll just duplicate that, become shot 13. And I'm going to drag that up to sequence 1, and it becomes part of sequence 1. Okay, and this is I'm going to rename this one to my master comp. Okay, and then also inside a sequence, I'm going to create one more folder. I'm going to call this one assets. Okay, so now I have an assets folder for the sequence, and now I've got assets folders for each shot, and I got a comp for the sequence, and I've got a composition for each shot. Okay, so if I double click on a composition, it loads it into my composition window. And there's nothing in it yet to show you that that's what it is, but it tells me on the label that that is what it is. It also shows me down here in this tab that this is the master comp. Okay. Now if I were to open up my shot 1,